You ever wake up to find a brand new row of luxury townhomes sliding down your backyard like toy cars on a wet windshield? No? Lucky you. Because I did. And let me tell you, you don't forget the sound the earth makes when it decides it's had enough of people's nonsense. Not when you grew up on a mountain that already tried to eat a road and half your childhood in '74. And not when every single neighbor blames you for what happened, just because you tried to warn them. Yeah, that's right, me. The guy who supposedly pulled down a mountain with his bare hands. You know what I mean? It's almost funny. Almost. So here's how it went down. This story's got a landslide, an HOA president who'd fight a grizzly bear if it wore white after Labor Day. A twist I wouldn't have believed if I hadn't lived it, and just enough absurdity to make you question what the word community even means. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and maybe drop your city and local time in the comments, because you're not going to want to miss this ride. When most people talk about family land, they mean, what? A backyard. Maybe an old oak tree, a rusty swing set, a shed their uncle built after a few too many beers. My family's land isn't like that. We're talking 40 acres of steep, stubborn granite and mean old junipers. Underneath, the veins of water move around, shifting the soil like restless animals nobody sees, but everybody should respect. My dad used to say, "This mountain's alive, son. You treat it like you would an old bull. Don't poke it unless you're ready for the horns." He learned that the hard way, back in '74, when half his logging road disappeared overnight. I was 6, hiding behind the cabin door, listening to trees break like toothpicks, watching boulders go rolling by the window. I thought the world was ending. After that, Dad became obsessed. He started measuring every crack in the dirt, sketching maps, filling notebooks with little diagrams and warnings. "Somebody's going to need this after I'm gone," he'd say. He was right. When he passed, all those books and that land became mine. I didn't build on it. I didn't touch it, except to fix a fence now and then or keep brush back from the cabin so a wildfire wouldn't roast me alive. I let the mountain rest. It could have stayed peaceful, if not for Highland Bluffs. The local HOA, if you can call a group of middle managers in polo shirts and $40,000 SUVs an authority. The first I heard of them was a glossy flyer taped to my mailbox. New luxury living coming soon. The picture was watercolor, beige townhomes all lined up on what I immediately recognized as my family's south slope. I actually laughed. Thought it was a mistake. I mean, these HOAs, they redraw property lines like kids with sidewalk chalk, right? Well, I got curious, so I strolled down to their brand new entrance, sign all polished stone, uplit at night so you could spot it from the moon. That's where I met her, Karen Maddox, president of the HOA, queen of Highland Bluffs, owner of the world's most indestructible blonde bob. She had sunglasses the size of dinner plates and a clipboard like a medieval weapon. "Sir, you can't park your truck here. This is HOA-controlled property." I just stared. "Ma'am, this is my driveway." She sniffed like I'd tracked mud onto her church carpet. "That's impossible. Our expansion survey clearly marks this road as belonging to Highland Bluffs." So I pulled out my deed. "Your survey's wrong." And that was the opening bell. A week later, little metal survey stakes started popping up on my hill. Bright orange tape waving in the wind like it was already celebrating my defeat. Every stake a little deeper into my land than the last. I found a couple surveyors up near the top. Nice enough guys, just doing their job, but they packed up quick when I pointed out they were trespassing. "Orders from the HOA board," one mumbled. "Orders don't trump ownership," I said. But you know how it goes. Once the wheels start turning, they don't stop for anybody standing in the way. So I did what any rational person would. Sent an email to the board, attaching every deed, every survey, every yellowed page my dad left behind. I even walked a copy over in person. Karen took it between 2 fingers, like it was a dead squirrel. "We'll have our legal team review this," she said. Her legal team, turns out, was Bert, the retired divorce lawyer who lived 2 streets over and mostly handled disputes about garden gnomes and barking dogs. But it didn't matter. 2 days later, the bulldozers rolled in. I came flying down the slope as they started scraping off the topsoil. The foreman, Chad, sunglasses, goatee, arms like a retired linebacker, told me, "Sir, you can't be here. Active job site." "This is my property," I yelled. He smirked, "Not according to the HOA." And that's when my patience snapped. The HOA doesn't own a damn inch of this hill, I said. Shut these machines down before someone gets hurt. He called in HOA security, which, folks, is just two dads with matching windbreakers and the self-importance of mall cops. They threatened to fine me for interfering with construction on my own land. I laughed so hard, I almost cried. That night, I drafted a formal warning, attached Dad's notebooks, old photos of the 74 landslide, geotech notes, everything. Sent it to the county, the HOA, even Chad. County replied with a "We have received your materials." The HOA, please cease hostile behavior toward our community development. Your materials are unsubstantiated. Unsubstantiated. Decades of documentation. Literal geological warnings. Then the real escalation. I come home to a 10-foot tall metal fence, rammed deep across a path I'd walked since I could tie my boots. The lock wouldn't budge. A text buzzed my phone. Tampering with HOA property will result in legal consequences. You have been warned. HOA property. On my land. Let me back up a sec. This wasn't incompetence. It was arrogance. The kind that thinks if you act confident enough, the earth itself will fall in line. So I hired Frank, a surveyor old enough to remember when Karen spelled committee with one T. He brought drones, markers, and county maps. After a couple hours, he just shook his head. They're deep into your line. No question. The HOA, of course, said Frank's work was invalid. He wasn't on their approved vendor list, as if that meant a damn thing. Then the official-looking envelope arrived, legalese stacked a mile high, accusing me of obstructing community progress, harassing personnel, spreading misinformation, told me to back off, or else. I wrote back one line. If you keep building on my land, you'll be held liable for what happens next. Spoiler, they didn't listen. Each morning after, more trucks showed up. Cement mixers, earth movers, out-of-state survey firms nobody'd ever heard of. They paraded up the hill like they were building the Roman Colosseum. I stood on my porch and watched them dig deeper, carving trenches right into unstable ground. Ground Dad and I both knew would move if it got thirsty enough. When I confronted Chad again, he just shrugged. Our geotech consultant cleared the site. Who? I asked. Some outside firm. I offered him Dad's records. He wasn't interested. They kept digging. Weeks went by. I watched them pour the wrong kind of fill, cut retaining walls the wrong direction, skip the steel reinforcement. I thought it was just ignorance, until one afternoon, I overheard a young worker complain. We're supposed to use reinforced concrete. Where's the steel grid? Chad barked. HOA said cut costs. Pour it. No rebar. The kid went quiet. That night, I sent everything to the county, photos, video, blueprints. The reply? We are reviewing permits and will respond when possible. Translation, good luck. HOA security doubled down. Now they're following me whenever I walk the property line, filming me, telling me I was trespassing on my own hill. One of them, a guy who looked like his only workout was finger-pointing on Facebook, actually said, "You're trespassing." I pointed down. This is my land. He looked at the ground, then back at me. The HOA disagrees. Yeah, that happened. Soon after, the real trouble started. Just a sprinkle of rain, but that was enough. Tiny fissures appeared in the ground, hairline but long enough to make my stomach drop. Dad taught me what that meant. When the ground starts cracking before the rainy season, it's getting ready to move. I went to the HOA office with pictures of the cracks. Karen, manicured and unbothered, didn't even look up. We've consulted experts. What experts? I asked. That's not your concern. It is when you're building on my land. You're making this unnecessarily difficult, she replied. I'm trying to keep people safe. She smiled, thin and cold. We believe you are sabotaging our community expansion for your own reasons. Jealousy, bitterness, maybe greed. I laughed. Greed? Lady, you're trying to steal a hill, and you want to call me greedy? She didn't flinch. The cracks grew. Driveways tilted. Residents posted online about weird noises at night. The HOA's official answer? Minor soil settling is normal. Engineering team assures the site is safe. They kept using safe, like it was a magic spell. Then the first big storm hit. I stood on my porch, wind in my face, rain stinging, and felt the ground tremble beneath my feet. I grabbed Dad's notebook, climbed the ridge, and stared in horror at the new townhome foundations. They dropped 6 inches overnight. Retaining walls bowed out. Fractures like spider webs split the fresh concrete. Next morning, the construction crew rolled in as if nothing had happened. "We'll reinforce it," Chad said. "It's just settling." "You can't reinforce a sinkhole," I said. "You're building on liquefying soil." He laughed. "Your dad wasn't an engineer." "No, but he lived through 2 landslides." "You?" He didn't answer. So, I went back to the county, armed with a binder full of Dad's notes, sketches of the 1974 slide, soil pressure calculations, warnings in neat handwriting. This time, I walked in and asked for the person handling unauthorized construction. That's how I met Supervisor Grant, a middle-aged guy who looked like he'd rather eat a bucket of nails than deal with another HOA complaint. He read my materials. "These are detailed. My father documented everything. The HOA's survey is forged." He frowned, promised to send someone. Sure enough, a county inspector arrived with gadgets and a drone. After a couple hours, he looked up, boots caked in mud, face pale. "You were right. The slope's unstable. The foundations are compromised, and they're building on your land." He filed a report. The county issued a stop work order. You'd think that would be the end, right? Nope. The HOA doubled down. Karen stormed up the hill, white jacket, 2 board members in tow, Chad bristling like he could bulldoze the inspector off the property. They tried to argue, but the inspector was calm. "Temporary stop work until a full assessment," he said. Karen lost it. "You can't do that." "I already have," he replied. For the rest of the day, the site was still. Then, just after dark, I saw headlights on the hill, trucks with no plates, workers sneaking in, reinforcing the wall they'd been ordered to stop touching. I filmed everything, sent it to the county. Next morning, Karen accused me, of sabotaging the site. She staged photos, called the police, spun a story so wild it could have made a soap opera jealous. And then, as the rain picked up, the mountain made its decision. You know, people say the calm before the storm. But the truth is, it's quiet right before something gives way. That night, the earth beneath the new townhomes shuddered. I heard it through the floorboards of my cabin, the mountain, warning. I didn't sleep, just paced and listened. By dawn, water streamed down the slope. The concrete pads had tilted, cracked, shifted. Still, the HOA insisted all is well. Chad barked at workers to keep pouring rebar into mud. Karen patrolled with a clipboard, shouting about trespassers. But the mountain doesn't care about trespassers. Then, as if on cue, it happened. The ground gave a deep, hollow groan, like a drum roll from hell. The retaining wall bowed, then burst. Mud and stone and water exploded out, dragging the first row of townhomes with it. Workers ran, one tripped. Deputy Harper, the only cop with common sense, yanked him clear just in time. I got it all on camera. The landslide ripped 3 townhome pads from their moorings. Half the retaining wall vanished. The HOA's precious road split wide enough to swallow a Subaru. Mud rolled down, carrying concrete and ruined dreams with it. And then, as if the script couldn't get any weirder, Karen staggered into the chaos, rain-smeared mascara, screaming, "This is your fault. You sabotaged us." "Lady," I said, "the only thing I sabotaged was your ability to listen." Police arrived. Reporters swarmed. The HOA doubled down, blaming me on every camera they could find. But the county had the footage. The inspectors had the science. The mountain had the last word. The investigation uncovered everything. The forged surveys, the late-night construction. Emails where the HOA literally planned to phase out my property line. Turns out, their real plan was to build so far onto my land I couldn't fight back. They would have gotten away with it if the hill hadn't called their bluff. And in the end, the county dissolved the HOA, indicted the board for fraud and negligence, and handed my land protected status as a conservation area, just like my father had tried to do 50 years ago. The mountain was safe, finally. The scars on the hill would heal. Maybe the ones in me, too. So here I am, walking the ridge at sunset, boots crunching over dry mud, standing by a bench I built for my dad's memory, a little plaque warning. Respect the ground you walk on. Because if this story teaches anything, it's this. Nature doesn't negotiate. Not with paperwork, not with lawyers, not with arrogance. The land remembers, and it settles its debts. Now, let me ask you, When it comes to justice, where's the line between right and wrong? Between fighting for what's yours and being branded a villain by people who can't admit their mistakes? Ever dealt with folks who'd rather blame you than face a hard truth? Drop your stories and thoughts in the comments. Let's hear how you define justice when the ground shifts beneath your feet.